Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers with another of our running shoe guides. In this video, we're going to be talking about easy day shoes. So quite often when we're reviewing shoes and when we're doing guides, we're looking at a wide range of things when it comes to shoes, like comfort, versatility, durability, all of those sorts of things. In this video, we're purely looking at the shoes that we would pick just for easy day. So comfort, enjoyment, and just getting through the miles in the nicest way possible. Right, let's dive in and see what we all picked.
So it comes to my favourite shoes for flat out easy runs, the kind of runs you do the day after a really hard workout, your recovery runs. I have one shoe that I think really stands out above everything else very clearly, and that is the Saucony Hurricane 24. I think this is a really comfortable shoe. Like, certainly that's the main feature of it. It's incredibly comfortable, but it's also just a shoe you can kind of forget about when you're running with it. And I think that's what I really like on easy runs. Like, I don't really want a shoe that's too intrusive. I just want to tick through the miles, and I generally like a fairly rockered shoe. You know, I don't necessarily want it to be super soft because actually I find that intrudes on my run a little bit. Like, I know it's comfortable to have a really squishy shoe, but I'd rather have a shoe that just ticks over with a little bit of firmness while still being quite comfortable. And generally, yeah, it just supports the run, doesn't get in the way of the run, and feels good, and, you know, protects the body well. And I think that's what the Hurricane 24 does really, really well. Like, it was a big surprise to me how much I like this shoe. I hadn't really tested previous models, and it almost feels like what I wanted the Saucony Triumph 22 to be with the introduction of the Power Run PB foam. It feels a lot softer in this shoe. It also feels like it's got a little bit of bounce in it. You've got that Power Run frame, like it's a stable shoe. It's nice and wide, but none of those stability elements are intrusive. And actually, like I say, on the run, you kind of forget you're wearing it. Even though it is a really big shoe, it feels a fair bit lighter than it is, and it just ticks over really well with that smooth rocker. Just grind out the miles. I feel good. Like, it's a shoe that I look forward to wearing, and it makes me happy to wear it, which is quite rarely the case with really big cushion shoes. I'm just not usually a very big fan of them because they tend to be quite heavy. Like, I just find that they get in the way of my run a little bit. Like, they are comfortable and everything, and they protect my body well, but I'm quite a high cadence runner. I don't think I'm necessarily a very big impact runner, so I tend to just like a fairly, you know, natural feeling shoe that doesn't really, like I say, intrude on my run. And that's what the Hurricane 24 does, whilst having those elements of being very protective, very supportive, very cushioned. So yeah, that's my very clear pick, number one pick for easy day shoes. But we had to pick two shoes, and there is another one that I think does a similar job quite well. It's a little bit cheaper, and that is the Brooks Ghost Max 2. And in general, I do like Brooks's kind of comfortable cushioned daily trainers, things like the Ghost and Glycerin, but they all have quite high drops. And, you know, while I don't mind that, I don't dislike the feel of that. I find it's just, again, a bit more in my mind on the run. I feel them a bit more on the run, and I like the rocker you get with the Ghost Max 2. I really like the DNA Loft V3 foam you have in it because it's comfortable, but it's not too squishy. Like I say, like, it gives you a little bit back. So as you're running at easy miles, I don't feel like I'm starting to, you know, wade through a very soft foam, which I don't find that comfortable. Like, you know, in theory, you know, just the squishier, the softer, the better for easy runs. But actually, you know, I find it gets in the way of my run. It makes me think about my shoes, and I don't want to be thinking about my shoes. I want to just be running easy and looking around, enjoying a podcast, chatting to someone. That's what I like to do on easy runs, and the Ghost Max 2 does that really well. Like, it is a shoe you kind of forget you're wearing. It's reasonably heavy, but like the Hurricane, feels a lot lighter than it is. It's really well balanced and just ticks over really well, will last a very long time, grips well, all the kind of things you just want for a shoe you don't think about that much, that you just pull on for a nice relaxing run that's just going to protect the body and, you know, not get in the way. So yeah, those are my two picks for just flat out easy day shoes. Hurricane 24 is the winner for me by a mile. I think it's my favourite cushion shoe in many years in terms of just really cushion shoes, because, like I said, I tend to go for slightly more versatile shoes even on easy day runs because I don't like the feeling of a very big shoe on my foot, and this shoe doesn't feel like a very big shoe when it's on your foot. It feels really nice. And then the Ghost Max 2 is another really good option that's a bit cheaper.
Before I get into my two shoes, quick word on what I like for my easy day shoes. I'm probably a little bit different than some runners where I don't necessarily want, you know, super soft, super squidgy, absolutely huge, kind of dulling, road eating kind of softness in my super easy day shoes. I can run in something that's a little bit more direct, perhaps a little bit lower stacked. That said, in my two picks, I've got one that's been a bit of a surprise for me because it bucks that trend, manages to do it without being so squidgy. But yeah, I kind of look for something that's going to give me effortless comfort, really. I just want it to disappear on the feet. I don't want to feel like I'm having to work the shoe too much. I don't want it to be too soft and too squidgy. I don't want it to feel like it's draining. That's what I will look for. So here are my two shoes. This Brooks Glycerin Max only landed very recently, but this shoe has been a surprise hit for me. I'm not usually a big fan of the super max stacked mega cushion shoes with a whopping great platforms like this, but I think these shoes managed to deliver that max cushioned kind of super plush feel for the easiest of easy slow plodding without feeling too laboured or too soft. or too much like hard work, which I hate in a shoe. They're surprisingly light on the foot for the volume of midsole foam and the overall heft of the shoe. There's also a little energy to them coming back from this DNA tuned midsole you've got. So they eat up the road impact. They cushion your landings well, catering for tired feet, but they don't feel too soggy. They're not too draining. There's more life here in the ride than you get from something like a New Balance 1080 V13, for example. I used them this Sunday for an 11-minute mile slow plod the day after I ran 24 miles solo. That run had left my legs in bits, and these shoes provided exactly the balance of protection and easy comfort I needed without feeling heavy and dull. For when I want nothing but comfort for very, very, very easy miles, I think these are now a very good option. I've really enjoyed running in them. Another shoe I reach for regularly for easy days, but perhaps not in the mix with that kind of max cushioned shoe that we've seen now, is the Saucony Ride 17. I'm quite happy running my easy miles in shoes without enormous soft pillows for midsoles. I often want just a balanced shoe that offers enough protection, a really easy guaranteed step-in comfort, a stable ride. Bit of a rockered response I find really helps over the super kind of squidge that you get from some of those big hefty midsoles. I still want to feel a bit of the road and be in control of my landings and my toe-offs. A little more than you might get with those kind of biggest stacked max stack shoes. The Saucony Ride 17 I think delivers all of that in a package that's midway. It's plenty roomy up the top. It's really nicely disappearing on the foot. I can get on with running without being aware of this shoe. I think it's not alone in this. There are a few other shoes that I put in the same ballpark as this that I'd really like. Not max stack. The Nike Pegasus 41, the Puma Velocity Nitro, even the Adidas Supernova Primo I think perhaps fits into this, and perhaps even the Brooks Ghost Max 2. They all offer a bit of that balance. But I know when it comes to unhindered, happy kind of clip along at a nice slow pace, the Saucony Ride 17 has my back up to a couple of hours of running. The other thing I really like about shoes like that and the Ride 17 though, is that they are versatile too. So you can use this for your easy day miles, but you can also use it for things when you're maybe moving a little bit freer and a little bit faster. So for me anyway, that's how I can run in shoes that I don't need, the huge biggest stack. And actually what I really prefer is something that's a bit more balanced, so you can probably get a bit more range out of it as well and save yourself a bit of money.
So in terms of what I look for in an easy day running shoe, I think first and foremost, I want a shoe that's very easy to get on and get out of the door. So that means for me, something where I'm not having to play too much around with the lacing, getting that tongue in place. It's just going to be very easy to put on ultimately. I think the other thing is I like an upper that fits a little bit more snug. Doesn't have to be, wrapping too tightly for me. I want that kind of more accommodating fit in general. In terms of what I like to see or feel underfoot, I think I like to step into something that feels a little bit more on the plush side, but also I think from a kind of ride point of view, I want something that maybe has a gentle kind of rocker to it. I want something that's going to nudge you kind of very gently, but in a purposeful way, forward and kind of from your heel to your toe, on those days where it's probably going to be a bit challenging to do that. And I think ultimately from an outside point of view, I'm not looking for anything too special. Ultimately enough rubber there to give you that kind of good level of grip, traction, and that level of durability that if you're going to go and use it for long easy runs, it's going to be well equipped to do that. Now in terms of the shoes I think fit that criteria for me at the moment, I think there's two that kind of stand out. There's probably a few more than that, but I think in terms of the two that I really look to grab for first, I think the first is this one, and this is the Hoka Skyward X. Now this is a bit more on the expensive end in terms of spending on a kind of easy day running shoe, but I think it can be a shoe that can do a lot of different things. But I think in terms of the way I use it, it's where I just want comfort. I want that kind of snug fitting upper for me. I think in terms of what you're getting in terms of that ride, in terms of that feel, I think there's a big level of cushion. There's some plushness there, but it's not overly plush. But I do think, as I said, there's a bit of a rocker in there that's just aggressive enough for me to make it feel, enjoyable to running this shoe and spend a long time in this shoe as well too. So it's more of that kind of max cushion easy day shoe. It's putting a lot of stack underneath your foot, which I think ultimately is going to protect, but it's a kind of slightly plush feeling. There's a little bit of responsive edge to it ultimately as well too, but that's really about you engaging with it. I think if you're just going to go out and just really kind of focus on putting your time and your feet, then you're going to get something in return I think just feels very comfortable, very protective, and also has a little bit of enjoyment in there as well too. So the first one for me would be the Hoka Skyward X. I think the second one for me would be An older shoe, an older generation shoe would be this, the New Balance 1080 V13. Obviously, the 1080 V14 has just launched now. I would personally go for this shoe over that shoe at the moment, and still do, ultimately, because I do think that the makeup of the fresh foam in that shoe has slightly changed for me. I do think this is a lot more plush feeling than the 1080 V14. I think ultimately they're designed or give similar experiences in terms of that ride, but this is a little bit lighter. I prefer that plusher feel underfoot, which I do think you get on the 1080 V13 compared to the 1080 V14. And again, I talked about a rocker. There's a very moderate kind of rocker in there, but just enough that, you know, if I'm going out and spending, kind of extended time on my feet, then this is a shoe that, just is going to, nudge you forward. It just enough, I think, to keep you out there. And I think in terms of that ride, it feels very comfortable. I love the weight of this shoe, for an easy day shoe. I think the biggest compliment I can give with these two shoes, and I think what is an ideal easy day shoe for me, is one that ultimately you're going to feel comfortable walking in and spending a lot of time walking in. Ultimately, for me, generally transfers to being a shoe that I want to spend time in running, or running at an easier pace, or my recovery pace. So yeah, those are my two easy run shoe picks: the New Balance 1080 V13 and the Hoka Skyward X.
So as a runner, I skew a little bit more towards easy sessions. When I'm training for a marathon, I do quite a lot of interval sessions, I do quite a lot of tempo runs, and my style of running does change quite a bit when I train for a marathon because I'm trying to get faster times. But the majority of the time throughout the year, the runs that I normally do tend to focus more on the easy day runs. So I generally, when I'm not training for something, I'll probably do 4 sessions a week. Most of those will be easy runs at my pace, which is about 5 minutes, 15 kilometers. And as a runner, I really like soft cushioned shoes. A big focus for me when it comes to running is just having comfort, just ticking off the miles and getting to the end of the run and just feeling like my legs are nice and fresh, and I really enjoyed the run. So this is a video that I've been waiting to do for a while because I do have a lot of easy day shoes, and it's quite a tricky choice picking which I'd go for just if I was solely picking shoes for easy days. Now, if you watch the channel, you'll probably know that I'm a massive fan of the More range. This video does not contain the More V5 because I haven't tested that yet, and I'm not going to add in the More V4 because there's some shoes that are superseded that I quite like. But as soon as the More V5 comes in, I'll do a full review of that, and hopefully I'm going to like it. Okay, so my 2 picks for easy day shoes. My first one, and I should caveat this in saying that there is going to be some crossover in this video, which is probably good because it suggests that more than one of us actually really like these shoes. So my first pick is the New Balance 1080 V13. Now this is an interesting one because it's a daily shoe, it's not a max stack shoe, and it is a shoe that historically has been used to be a bit more versatile. The 1080 V13, and I think Mike talks about this as well, is a shoe that, even though it's a daily shoe, it is massively skewed towards easy runs. The Fresh Foam X midsole foam in the 1080 V13 is way softer than previous versions of the shoe, which does make it a little bit of a polarizing shoe because people who really like those previous versions have said that, or some of them have said that it's a little bit too soft. And the reason that that's probably the case is that, one, it does sort of sap your energy if you are trying to run a bit faster, and also it loses a little bit of stability. But for me, on easy day runs, I'm not overly bothered about stability, and I'm definitely not bothered about something versatile. I just want it really comfortable. I love the softness in this midsole. It just sinks you into the ground. Doesn't give you loads of pop back, but when I'm doing an easy run, I'm not really looking for that. I just want a really comfortable ride, and it just nestles your feet into the ground, feels really comfy. It does have a fairly nice transition in it, so you can get a nice, consistent, enjoyable pace, but it's definitely not a shoe that you'd use for running faster, and you just end up getting tired of the legs if you're using this for faster sessions or really long runs and things like that. But for those easy runs up to about 10-15k, I love using this shoe. And also, it's not a massive shoe. A lot of the really big cushion shoes out there do tend to be quite chunky. This does feel like a fairly lightweight daily shoe, but it does feel lighter than some of the max cushion shoes out there. So overall, I just really enjoy using this shoe. It's just a great shoe to pick up if I'm going out for a run and I'm just ticking off the miles, maybe doing a 5k or a 10k, and I just want something to wear that makes me want to go out for a run and not think, oh, I don't really want to do this run. This is one of the shoes that I go for because it's just very comfortable, like putting it on, does the job, I'm a big fan. Not as big a fan of the 1080 V14. New Balance has addressed the slight lack in stability from the 1080 V13 by making the shoe a little bit firmer and change the geometry a bit of that shoe, but as a result, it's not as soft. It is more versatile, but I really like the shoe for easy days, and I'd much rather use this than the 1080 V14. My next pick is a new one, and I've done probably about 100k in the shoes. I've been using it solidly for the past few weeks now. This is the Brooks Glycerin Max. Now, massive fan of the Glycerin range for the past few versions of that shoe. Think it's fantastic, and in later versions it's become a little bit more versatile as well. It's become a bit more of a daily shoe. The Glycerin Max is a shoe that is clearly max stacked. There's a lot of cushioning in this shoe, but because it's Brooks, Brooks are very focused on having a nice stable ride. So they've made this shoe which obviously has a lot of cushioning in it, but it's still a fairly stable shoe. That midsole foam is quite dense. It's not too squishy, and it really does hold your foot position in place quite nicely. So it's a good one for newer runners who maybe don't want a really soft wobbly shoe, or definitely don't want a soft wobbly shoe, and it's a good option if you really want a lot of comfort and a lot of cushioning, but you still want a nice wide base that is going to hold you in place. I really like using this shoe for a number of reasons. One, I like the rolling action to it. It's got a nice little rocker tipper as you're running, so it tips you over nicely and just keeps you running nice and consistently. The midsole is probably, for me, it's not as soft as what I'd normally go for. It does have a nice level of softness in it, but because of this max stack, I would have assumed it would probably be a little bit softer, but Brooks shoes don't tend to be really, really soft. It's actually, I know we're not meant to be talking about versatility too much in this video, but it is a bit more versatile than some of the other cushion shoes out there because of that midsole foam and that rocker as well. But for easy days, it's a lovely shoe to cruise in. It just tips you over nicely, and it's definitely a great option if you're looking for a good easy day shoe or recovery day shoe that just feels really, really comfortable and relatively stable. That's it from us on this Easy Days video. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the little bell, and if you're going to catch me below, you can find a link to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.